Get Involved Referee is brought to you by Pressbox PR. Pressbox PR puts your brand on the map. From a chat over a pint to the headline of a website, Pressbox PR takes your brand and gives it the recognition that it deserves. With a proven track record with multiple clients, you'll be able to see your press go beyond the box with Pressbox PR. Check out pressboxpr.co.uk for more information.
Hello and welcome to the Get Involved Referee podcast, a podcast that tries to throw some light on the good, the bad and the VAR decisions within Scottish football. I am your host, David McDonald, and joining me in the studio is ex-Grade 1 official Steve Conroy, and joining us on the phone this evening is our other ex-Grade 1 official, Des Roach. Gentlemen, how are you?
Very well, thanks for inviting us back in normal football reigns again.
All good. Sorry I can't be with you there tonight in person. Obviously my better half and probably better decision maker, Mrs. Roach, has been struck with the lurgy, so she's tested positive, so I'm obviously keeping my distance and don't want to potentially spoil you guys' Christmas. But yeah, great to be on and have Scottish football back again.
So it's not the palaver of Scottish Rail that's prevented you from getting in this evening then, it's the dreaded virus, COVID?
It is, and honestly, I've had it twice, my kids have had it, my wife has avoided it, and from being nowhere, all of a sudden she's got it. So yes, it's not British Rail, it's Mrs. Roach and her current state of health.
Okay, gentlemen, listen, before we dive into Scottish football, we'd be the only sporting organisation, podcast, radio, newspaper, whoever, that doesn't touch on the World Cup. First of all, what a game it was. Des, how did you find that game?
I thought it was extraordinary. I thought Argentina, I know people always talk about it being a Messi-led team and he's the focal point, but listen, these guys know what they're doing. Their defend, their midfielders get up and down. I think I used the word a couple of weeks ago, they'll bring out the dark arts. And to win a World Cup, they were at every single trick, they were at every single bit. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think Mbappe scoring a hat trick. I think we also heard on the television, he's probably the first person to score a hat trick in the World Cup final, where all three goals went over the line. I thought that was good. But yeah, no, I thought it was thoroughly entertaining. And yeah, for me, the best team and the best player won.
Steve, I got dragged out shopping yesterday and I missed I think it was about 81st minute. I come into the house and I put on the television. I was following it when I was out and I've seen it was 2-0 and you're thinking that's a foregone conclusion. Argentina are going to win it, and then I put on a telly and it's 2 each, and I think it's safe to say I don't think I missed anything from the previous 80 minutes, but an unbelievable finish to a game of football. Great advert for football as well.
Absolutely magnificent. As you said, the first 70 minutes, it was pretty dull because France were getting a doing. They were getting absolutely pumped. And from then on, it was just bedlam. It was a fantastic game of football. Maybe the best World Cup game I've seen since Brazil-Italy, when Italy employed, as Des says, the dark arts to knock out probably the best Brazil team since 1970. It was a fantastic game. I loved it.
Polish referee Simeon Marcinic, he had an unbelievable game as well. It's not very often I comment on referees. You know me, guys, I'm very impartial from shouting abuse at you.
Indeed.
But he was astonishing. I mean, you just felt he had absolute control of the game.
From minute one, he was in total control of it. There was no dissent, there was no argument. Even when he was given what could have been contentious decisions, not a word of dissent or complaint from anybody. He was outstanding, and that's the standard that we should all be aiming for. And if ever in my refereeing life I attained half of what he has shown he was capable of, it would make me very proud. He was magnificent.
Didier Deschamps, the French manager, reckons that Argentina pretty much had a consistently good World Cup with referees. He feels that the referees were always favouring Argentina, can we say. He reckons there was no bad luck there. He didn't go into too much detail, obviously because he can't, because FIFA would probably throw the book at him. But do you feel his performance yesterday was accurate of that? Do you feel he sided Argentina? Do you think there was any decisions that stuck out that should have potentially not gone Argentina's way?
Like Steve, I thought the referee had done an absolutely fantastic game. He was very commanding. His body language was very strong. I mean, you look at it, there was no players dissenting to him. There was no mass crowding of him. Every decision he gave, the players accepted it and got on with it because they obviously bought into that he was getting the right decision. Do I think that he was favouring Argentina? No, don't think he was favouring Argentina at all. I think he was pretty by the book. I know there was a wee bit of issues of talking about the goalkeeper was maybe pushing it to the limit, but he got his warning, and then his next time the opportunity there, the referee cautioned them. So I don't really know what more else he could have done. But yeah, I thought it was great, and it was also very good for European referees and a country like Poland, who are not dissimilar to herself in size of country and the standing in the leagues, that they're getting a guy refereeing the World Cup final, and he's done himself massive amounts of credit.
Yeah, I mean, that comes on to our next point, Steve, the fact that no Scottish referees featured in this year's World Cup. And we've got referees in the World Cup this year from New Zealand, Iran, Gambia, Algeria, Romania, El Salvador, Netherlands, Rwanda. No disrespect to these countries, they're footballing nations, they're entitled to be their referees, but that they're not any bigger than us when it comes to football. Some might even say we're bigger than them. Why do we not have any Scottish referees in this, and what have the SFA got to improve the referee's stature within world football?
Well, a glaring, and sadly, we used to be a shoe-in for having people at the World Cups. We always had people at the World Cup, but same as our men's team, we've not had anything for long and weary. A large part of that is the SFA's fault with dragging their feet with VAR, because we were never going to get anything decent or anything big because we hadn't bought into VAR. That's the SFA's fault. But I think our standing did just drop. And there's not a good way of saying it, and there's no easy way of saying it. But our standards compared to everybody else and our reputation fell below all these other people that we've mentioned, and we've got a long way back, I think, to get back to where we were. And although we've mentioned them a couple of times in not complimentary terms, it's relatively not that long ago that Dallas was fourth official at a World Cup final. So, but the SFA surely can't be accepting that the same as none of the rest of us are. It's an appalling thing for a country so steeped in football not to even get a look in.
Des, when you were at the SFA, was it a key objective of theirs to improve performance enough? Literally, was it a target for European Championships, World Cups, Champions League? Was that a key objective?
Yeah, as it is for every association, whether you're Scotland, England, Germany. First of all, you want your national team playing at the main competitions and representing your country. But you also want your officials being at the major competitions and representing your country. And as Steve quite rightly said there, don't often agree with him too much, but it's absolutely appalling that we've not had somebody officiating at a major championship now. Well, obviously Hugh Dallas 2002. There was a Scottish refereeing team. Craig Thompson was at the Euros a few years ago. But why are our guys not getting there? And it's down to one reason. It's the education and the coaching and the technology that they've been given to work with. Now, we dragged our heels behind England on VAR. So as soon as we didn't have VAR, our guys are not going to get the top appointments, because that has to be a part of the game. But also, what about the coaching? What about the time that's spent specifically helping them get to that level? It's like being at school. You need the best teachers working with the best pupils. Our guys, for whatever reason, in UEFA, and obviously Hugh Dallas is involved in UEFA with Kalina. Now, he should have been, and I'm sure he was, fighting for our guys to get there, but they're not. So there has to be a reason, and for me, it can only come back to the doorstep of the National Association for the coaching that they're providing, and the coaching and information that they're wanting the young referees to come through with. I'm sure Steve would agree with that.
100%, yeah, absolutely.
I think as a football fan, it's one of the only rare occasions when you see a referee from Scotland being an official, whether it be a fourth official, linesman, or a referee of a game, you actually feel a bit of pride there. The fact that a referee is there is one of these moments in football we look at and go, we've got somebody there, that's really good. That's encouraging, the fact that our referees are good enough to be there. But again, as a football fan, you now look at the countries that are represented and Scotland's not there. It just makes it more difficult and challenging for referees in Scotland, Steve, to really, I suppose, demand that respect or get the respect from football fans. Yeah,
I think our respect should probably be much more of a given. You need to respect the people that you're working with. But the punters don't see any of our guys at any of the big tournaments, and they haven't for years. So the automatic assumption from the punters is that our guys aren't up to the job. So, and I'm saying, players and officials, they there should be a certain level of respect with them anyway. But the punters pay their money, they do what they want, but they're seeing that our guys aren't good enough to be picked for the big games. So that, to the punters, says that we are not up to the job.
Here's hoping at the next championships Scotland might have some sort of representation in the referees. Are you going to say something there, Des?
Yeah, because what would happen then, if you think about it in any job or in any sporting environment, if you see one of your guys being at the top level and being at a World Cup or a Euros or an Olympics, it then makes the other guys aspire to be as good as them, want to be on with them, learn from them. And there all you're doing is you're actually upping the level of the whole country, because everybody sees that that person is the top guy in their league. So they want to aspire to be like them. It's like in England, they had 2 referees at the World Cup this year. But everyone in the Premier League all want to be doing the same as your Anthony Taylors and Michael Olivers. So if we can get somebody back in there, then surely that would drag up, or you would like to think that would drag up the aspirations of all the other referees to match that level of ability as well.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about the World Cup, guys. It's come to its end. It was a phenomenal finish, and now we're back in with Scottish football, and we didn't have to get off to a cracking game. So Rangers versus Hibs 3-2. The referee for this game was Nick Walsh. Hibs haven't won at Ibrox since February 2018, and it was looking at one point that they were going to get all 3 points. They were 2-1 up, Steve. There's a corner taken. It's flung into the box. Hibs are challenging for it. The ball comes down. It hits James Sands in the arm, very similar to other incidents that we've seen this season. Penalty's not given. At that moment, I'm thinking, brilliant. The SFA have finally looked at the rules, looked at the World Cup and gone, right, we need to improve this handball rule or the interpretation of it. That's not a handball, so let's just play on. But as the rules have been so far this season, that's a penalty. Do you think that was a penalty?
Well, there's 2 sides to that. Would I have given it a penalty? Do I think that's a penalty? No, not in a million years. In the current climate, is that a penalty? Absolutely. No question at all. And the things and the phrases that we've been banging on about, making yourself big, unnatural for the movement. He had absolutely no call to have his arm up where it was. He made a mess of the header, but he had no reason whatsoever to have his hand where it was. It was horizontal. It was straight out, bizarre. And that's one of the ones where, the wording says that the defender is taking a chance of having the call given against him. And again, I'll state, should that be a penalty? No. In the real world, absolutely not. In the current climate, you couldn't get a clearer penalty.
Des, do you agree with that?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. The player, Sands, was looking at the ball. He was trying to focus. I know they said there was maybe a nudge from Nisbet. Now, wait a minute. It's a physical game. You're going to get a nudge. But the ball's come down and the ball has hit him. He's not hit the ball. The ball has hit him. So for me, I'm never given a penalty in a month of Sundays. However, under the laws of the game, as Steve Squire said, the word deliberate or intent is not in the law anymore. So if you take the risk and the ball hits you, you take the risk of being penalised. And then under the current situation and the current wording and application of the laws of the game, yeah, it's a penalty. But also from that, as you quite rightly said, it's 2-1 at the time to Hibernian. If that goes to 3-1, that could be an entirely different game. Hibs could have went on and won the game because there's far more pressure on Rangers at that time. But taking that aside, on that incident in isolation, would I have given a penalty? No. But under the current laws of the game and the way they've been asked to apply for it, it's absolutely a penalty.
Yeah. Okay, guys, just when I'm thinking the SFA and the referees in Scotland have finally got to grips with the handball, we see Hearts versus Kilmarnock. The referee for this game was William Collum, Uruwilli. During the second half, Hearts are winning 2-0. They have a corner, which is whipped into the box. Ash Taylor attempts to head the ball away. It hits his arm, which is moving down. I don't think it's an intentional handball, but it does hit his hand. No penalty given, which is great. That's the way it should be. But then, towards the end of the match, Hearts did get a penalty when the ball touches Wright's hand. Willie Collum didn't hesitate. 1 ounce, pointed to the spot. That was a crazy decision, Steve, was it not?
It's the same as the Rangers one. A penalty? Not in a million years. In the current climate, probably. It's getting to the stage where if the ball hits your hand in the box, it's a penalty, or should be given as a penalty. Realistically, no, not in a million years is that a penalty. I know you're meant to be big, strong boys, but it looked as though he did take a fair dunt from Shankland before the header came in. And it looked as though certainly wasn't intending to hit the ball. He couldn't have predicted that the ball was going to be behind him like that. If anything, he was trying to steady himself and balance himself, and the ball hit him. No intention, no attempt to divert it, no attempt to stop it going in on goal. It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
We actually thought we'd come to the end of this debate almost a few weeks ago, when it seemed to be that if the ball touched the arm, the hand in the box, regardless of circumstances, it was a penalty. Obviously, there was an incident at Celtic Park where a player had his back turned to the ball hits his hand, gets a penalty. I think the same weekend or the weekend after, Hibs versus St Mirren, I think it was Richie Tate, hands behind his back, but the ball deemed to come off his arm, penalty given there. and we'd almost made the decision that, well, that's fine then. That's a consistent rule. If the ball hits your hand in the box, it's a penalty. Let's just keep it that way. But we're straight back into it after World Cup, and there's already talking points where the ball's hitting arms, hitting the hands, and they're either given or not given. Des, what can we do to get clarity on this? So
just to backpedal just a wee second there, that one there is probably the most ludicrous one that I've seen given this year. His hand is in an absolutely natural position for him to jump into the air. It's came off him, I've used this word 1,000 times, it's came off him from such a close proximity that he can never get his hand out of the way. You've seen the Hearts players shout for it. I think they're shouting for it in more hope than expectation. How well he's deemed that to be a deliberate handball, it's not, but it's now got to the stage where if the ball hits you in the hand in the penalty area, it's a penalty. I don't think we can live under any other auspices or interpretation now. You've just got to give it. And it's totally against my moral fibre and totally against my judgment of it, because different situations should be interpreted differently. But the expectation now is, and I would fully expect, and I think every fan, player, manager in Scotland and the world would agree now, if it hits your hand, give the penalty. As much as I don't like it, I think that's the only way we can go to take away any inconsistency.
But we actually thought we had that a couple of weeks ago, where we're saying that's clearly the way it's gone. And of course, World Cup break comes, and it's not the way it's gone.
No, it's
because clearly VAR should have seen that instant at Ibrox and seen it was a handball then and given a penalty. Never a penalty in a million years, but going by the interpretation of the rules, that's a penalty. But then you see the Hearts one as well, given a penalty. That's not a penalty. There's no way it's a penalty.
No, and the only way of knowing which way it should go, was the Rangers one right? Was the Hearts one right? Somebody, and I would assume that would need to be Crawford, somebody from the SFA has to come out and tell us which one's right, because we haven't got a clue. They were both ludicrous. In the real world, neither's a penalty, but one's given, one isn't. Tell us which it is. But the sounds of things, the refs don't know either, because if VAR's looking at it and they're giving it in one and they're not giving it in the other, then clearly there's mixed messages going out. And you know, it's fine us sitting here talking about it, but the guys in the ref and the guys in the VAR box clearly haven't been told exactly what they've to give, or we would be getting the same decision.
It's absolutely crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's 21st century, VAR's been brought in later than everyone else. It's potentially prevented our referees from developing enough to get to World Cups. And, you know, here we are still debating this handball rule. What's a handball, what's not a handball? Like you say, Steve, why the SFA are just not coming out and giving us clarity on exactly what that is. Do you agree that the SFA need to do more, Des, and be more transparent?
I can guarantee you they don't want us debating it, because they want to think that we agree with what they're coaching and what the referee's doing. But it's not. I think it's now got to the stage where it's absolutely ridiculous. I think we'll all agree it's ridiculous that you can go into a game and the same situation can happen for you one week and against you the next, and you don't get the same decision. It's preposterous, absolutely preposterous. I think the refereeing team within there, Crawford, should come out. I mean, they're always quick enough to show us when VAR was coming in. Well, do you know what? Come out and explain the laws of the game. Come out and tell us. Use those two clips, perfect clips, both within 3 days of one. One was Thursday, one was Saturday. Shows why those two decisions were given with different outcomes, because that's the only way that that's the only way that we're going to understand it, and it's the only way that we can be educated, because obviously at this minute in time we're not being educated by them, but I don't think the referees are either. They're not being educated properly, and that is just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Two completely different outcomes within the space of 3 days from two top level referees are entirely different. Well, please go and somebody tell us.
Steve, what's it going to take for SFA to be transparent with fans and come out and tell us exactly what the rules are and their interpretation? Because, you know, it's like mud just now, and it's spoiling the game almost. I know it's giving us talking points for podcasts, and it gives us social media content as well, and that absolutely creates a debate. But it's just not good, because at some point somebody's going to lose 3 points and somebody's going to be relegated. Somebody's going to lose out in a top 6 place. Somebody's going to lose out in the championship. I mean, you know, these things have a commercial value to them. It's not just about the fans. There's a commercial value to football clubs as well. And if you're relegated off the back of 2-3 horrendous decisions throughout the season, who's responsible for that?
What will it take for the SFA to become transparent? It's going to take a Damascus turnaround. It's going to need to be St. Peter. As Des said, they do not want to come and talk to anybody. It's always been thus, and it's not going to change, in my opinion. It's not going to change. They hate coming out and having to explain their own thinking or their own decision making. They hate it. We should just accept and not think about it, not do anything about it. It's fine. And we always said, would VAR take away debate and talking to your mates down the pub about, that foul? Was it a foul? No, it wasn't. It was. We thought it was going to take away that. It's adding to it, but it's adding to it in a way that makes our guys the brunt of it. We said that Mr. Maxwell's comments before it came out was throwing us under the bus. The SFA are throwing us under the bus if we're coming out in the same weekend having those two decisions and having different outcomes for the same incident. And we've just to, as you say, kind of sit there, throw our hands up and go, well, we don't know, but it's, the SFA and their wisdom, it's up to them. It's an utter nonsense. Come out and tell us what's meant to happen. What's right, what's wrong.
Right, I would harbour a bet. There is more chance of you and I being welcomed back as Category 1 referees than them coming out and making a statement and explaining the handball rule.
That would be Damascus
I would quite happily place that
bet. Des, it's like Steve said, football fans have conversations down the pub, and 9 times out of 10 the referee's performance will always come into that. Historically in the past, when there's been debatable decisions, handballs, red cards, two blokes in a pub over a pint are talking about the outcome, the decision, and at the end of the day we all know the referee's only got one opportunity to see it. He's not got a replay, he's not got any of that. That's it. Do you know what I mean? It's final. His decision is final. He's not going to go back and change his mind. But now we've introduced VAR, so we now have that opportunity to go back and look at these decisions being made, and the referees have the opportunity to go and see the replay. And we're actually going back the way. It's actually now, it's making the performance of referees look worse. It's almost like, I don't know, it's just unexplainable that you can now sit and go, who's looking at, who's making these decisions? Because you've got the replay and you're still getting them wrong. Before, it's 100% human. And again, there's always going to be mistakes made in every profession, not just referees. But now they've got VAR, they've got the replay, they can hit the rewind button, they can check it back, and they're still making wrong decisions. I just find it astonishing. I really do. It's
utterly appalling. But, saying that you can sit and you can rewind it and you're still getting things wrong. We don't know which of those decisions at the weekend were wrong because they don't come out and tell us. It's different outcomes for the same incident, but we don't know who's called it wrong. We don't know if the refs have called it wrong, if VAR called it wrong. Is the ref waiting for VAR to make a decision? We haven't got a clue what's going on. And it's making our guys look even worse.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm correct, I don't think VAR was called upon on either incident. I think it was Nick made the call on his own at Ibrox on Thursday, and Willie was very quick, unlike him, to point to the spot on Saturday. And I don't think VAR was involved at either time. I certainly think both incidents were certainly worthy of another look to have. And as you said, the human element. The human element's gone to a certain extent because you have that opportunity. But to not look at it and still go with the same decisions, which were entirely opposite, it is making our guys look a bit hear 'em, scare 'em, isn't it? It's not doing anybody good, and it's certainly not upholding reputation for what Scottish referees are producing at this moment in time.
I'd imagine being a referee, the pressure on you is even more now because there's decisions that can be overturned, it can be checked, it's not been checked, and it's a reflection on the referee. Very few people are seeing the VAR guys making them decisions. We're pretty much always looking at the referee and thinking he's making these calls and that's it. There's so much more pressure on referees now. As a football fan, I just find it bizarre that every single game now we've got a talking point when ultimately we shouldn't. There's always going to be talking points. World Cup finals had plenty of talking points, but every single game almost now.
We've said before, you have humans involved and you're going to have inconsistency. Des's brutality-ometer set different from mine. But what you would say in the old days with those penalty decisions is that you don't give the Rangers one because you didn't think it was deliberate. Fair enough, good argument. But with the other one, you're saying, well, I thought the guy deliberately shoved his arm behind his back because he knew where the ball was going. That was the argument. That's whether you agree with it or whether you don't, that was the only point and the only opinion that mattered. I didn't give that penalty because I didn't think it was a deliberate handball. But now I'm giving it or I'm not giving it. But somebody else is having a look at it as well, and they're having an opinion, whether they go to review or not. There's going to be conversation going on. But that conversation is obviously different between the different situations, and it's a nonsense, an absolute nonsense. And we did say that we were going to be making the same mistakes as everybody else, but making them 3 and 4 years later. But as we said before, we should not have brought VAR out midway through a season. We should have been having these, or the active refs should have been having these discussions behind closed doors, and whoever gave and decided not to give the Rangers penalty and whoever decided to give the Hearts penalty, you should be filling in your forms, filling in your tick boxes, having discussion afterwards. but leaving the decisions as they are so that somebody can be compiling all the mistakes and all the errors and all the misinterpretations before it get rolled out in anger. It's nonsense. And sadly, we said that it was going to come to this.
What I think will be interesting is if we ever actually get an explanation on which one was correct and which one was wrong. If they think that both decisions were correct, then please tell us why they're both correct. But the fact that it's in the ether somewhere, it's really disappointing. And I didn't think my brutality meter was terribly high, Stephen. But
no, yours certainly wasn't.
Okay, guys, there was a couple of games postponed in the SBFL this week, but there was a game up in Dingwall, the Highland team league there. They can manage to get their games on, but the City boys can't. What does that say about the Highlanders? Referee was Graham Granger. Didn't have much to do in the match, but he did produce a red card for Jack Baldwin. I'm assuming you guys think that was the correct decision.
I'm not going to argue with it. I think it was one of those, what do you say, Des? High tariff yellow, orange card.
Yeah.
It's an opinion, not going to argue. I might not have given the red, but I certainly wouldn't argue that he gave it. It's his opinion, totally valid opinion, and no hassles.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's been caught sleeping. Stevie May's nipped in there. Baldwin's, he's held him, he's pulled him back, he's grabbed him. So yeah, I've got no qualm with that whatsoever. I'm quite happy to back Graham, and I think Graham's a young referee that we should be keeping an eye out for the next few years. He's made his way steadily through. He's fit, he's young, he's got a good career ahead of him. He's one of the ones I've got a lot of hope for. So yeah, no, well done, Graham. I'm quite happy with that one.
Well, as a football fan, I thought it was a red straight away. That was my opinion as soon as I seen it, but I'm definitely not qualified enough for you guys. But football fan said it's a red. Gents, coming up this week.
It's a red card.
Coming up this week, we've got Aberdeen versus Rangers. Urwilly will be refereeing that game, and the fourth official will be David Dickinson. And VAR, we've got Greg Aitken. And then Celtic Livingston on the 21st, we've got Ewan Anderson, who's a referee. Fourth official Gavin Duncan. And VAR, we've got Stephen Kirkland. So let's hope these guys are on the ball. I'm sure Willie Collum won't have much to do with Aberdeen if Jim Goodwin decides to park the bus like he did against Celtic. But listen, guys, thanks very much for joining us this week. If you want to get involved with Get Involved Referee Podcast, you can do so on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Any questions you have, please send them away and our guys will do their best to answer them for you. Guys, thanks very much.
Cheers, welcome back.
You're welcome. Hopefully we'll be back in the studio next time.